All right, so let's move on. Most of you, as I say, didn't do your worksheet. Don't know why. All right, but today I'm glad to see the full class here. All right, good job. Let's move into the homework for last week. All right, let's move into the homework for last week. Just to let you know, children, just want to say, next week onwards, right, I want to do revision, but I want to do a bit on Sec 1 work. Is it okay with you all? All right, because I feel that we have done a lot of the Sec 2, expansion, factorization, fractions, a lot of all this stuff already. All right, but I'm just afraid that your Sec 1 work, right, you kind of forget. Things like what is polygon, what is polygon? Oh my goodness. All right, things like what is highest common factor, lowest common multiple, and all this. So if you don't mind, right, next week lesson, right, we will be doing Sec 2 work, yes, but I want to cover a bit of the Sec 1 things that you have learned. Right, I think it's important. Why? Simple reason is because I told you already, your Sec 2 exam, Sec 1 work will be tested one. All right, it will be tested. All right, so you need to know your Sec 1 work and Sec 2 work. So I rather take this time to do some revision. I hope you all don't mind, all right, on the Sec 1 work. All right, so next week, probably we can do a bit of HCF, LCM, find things like the square root, cube root, how to make the number into a perfect square, something like that. Can? All right, if you don't mind. All right, but of course, we'll do a bit of Sec 2 revision still. All right, then after the June holidays, right, then we will start off with the new topics. Things like what? Things like Pythagoras theorem, things like measuration, all right, things like statistics. So Sec 2 topics, there's quite a lot still. All right, there's still quite a lot, right? Things like congruence and similar. Yeah. So for the June holiday, we will be doing a bit of Sec 1 revision. And also, I try to go into some new topics also. All right. If not, you all keep on doing the same thing. I think you all find it a bit boring also. How come every time the same thing, right? All right. So anyway, this was the homework from last week. All right. It's called making the subject. It's called making the subject. So maybe we can just take a look at this and let me just go through. Okay. Let's go. So you are given this particular equation. Y is equal to 2x square root z minus 4. You're supposed to find an expression for z in terms of y and z, y and x. So whatever you do, right, you start off with what? You start off with y equal to 2x square root z minus 4. All right. One very important thing you need to know is between the 2x and the square root. What is it? It's actually a hidden multiplication. It's a times. All right, it's a times. So you don't want the 2x down there. You don't want. You want to isolate the z. You want your z to be alone. So how? You slowly bring across all the unnecessary things. So this times 2x, right? Times 2x. You don't want. You bring across to the other side. All right. So times you bring across will give you a divide by 2x. Y is still the boss. Y is still there. Don't disturb the boss. So whoever you bring across, right, will be a divide. Can you see? And guess what? Your z minus 4 is still here with the square root. Don't forget your objective. Your objective is to isolate your z. Hey, but Cher, how do I get rid of the square root? How do I get rid of the square root? Yes, the neutralizing effect is to square it. Sec 2, you have learned something called acid and alkaline, right? Something like that. Yeah, my chemistry no good lah, huh? But acid and alkaline. So acid and alkaline, right? If you put them together, it will actually becomes neutral. All right. So if something is acidic, you put a bit of alkaline in, it becomes neutral. If you put alkaline, you put a bit of acidic in, it becomes neutral. All right. So down here, the same thing. In math, how do you get rid of the square root? How do you neutralize it? How do you neutralize the square root? You have to square it. But you have to be fair. This is the equal sign. Whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. So down here, you have y squared over 2 times 2, 4. X times x is x squared. Everybody is given a square. Z minus 4. And what is the last step? All right, the last step is to what? Remember, you are supposed to isolate the z. So don't bother the z. Leave him over here. Minus 4 you bring across. Right? Minus 4 you bring across is a plus 4. So down here is y squared over 4x squared plus 4. And you have successfully isolate your z. All right, so the answer will be y squared over 4x squared plus 4. Ta-da! All right, this is called making the subject, which is important, children, which is important. No kidding. All right, because some of you, if you are going to A math and all this, these are the basics that you need to do. All right, you need to have the basics, which is your algebra. Okay, so homework done. All right, let's take a look at 5B. Using as much information as possible, the value of square root 0.014, you're supposed to find this. What is this? All right, it is given that square root of 14 is 3.74. It is given that the square root of 1.4 is 1.18. So how? Don't panic, children. Don't panic. You have to look at this portion here. 0.014. Can I try to put it as a fraction or not? Sure, why must put it as a fraction? Just for fun, lah. Right? Just humor me. How do you put it as a fraction? All right. Do you know that this is actually a 14 what? Is it 14 hundredths? Or is it 14,000? Or is it 14 10,000? Do you know or not, children? All right. So which is the one? All right. So it's actually 14 over 10,000. Why? Okay. In primary 5, you should learn this. 14 over means 14 divided by 10,000. Primary 5, you learn this. Yeah. What's the meaning of divide? Divide means towards your left. How many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4. So you move, you move the decimal place. Where's the decimal place? Never right means at the back, right? So you're supposed to move to the left by 4 of this umbrella. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down here. Is it? So down here is supposed to be 0.0014. Wrong. It's not 0.014. Oh, I must less out 1 0, is it? I think so. Okay, like that. Better. Okay. So is it divide by 1,000 now? Let's try. To the left by 3 0. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 0.014. Correct already. All right, so it's actually 14 1,000. Hey, sure, use your calculator lah. Yeah, I know. All right, but again, just trying to show you that sometimes if we don't use the calculator, how do we do such question? Can? All right, so 14 over 1,000 is actually 0.014. All right, can you see something? This square root, right? What does this square root means? This square root actually means for everybody inside. That means square root this whole thing. Do you know that? Means the square root is actually for square root 14. Is also for square root what? 1,000. Do you know that? All right, the square root is for 40 and 1,000. But here you have to be a little bit smarter. How to be smarter? Look. This 1,000 can square root or not? 1,000 is not a perfect square. So you cannot square root the 1,000. All right. You got the square root 14, which is actually equal to 3.74. That is helpful. But 1,000 you cannot square root. So how? So you cannot use it. Then how? All right. You can actually use the other information, which is this one. Square root 1.4. Sure. How do you get square root 1.4? Okay, come. All right. We have to try to link this portion here to square root 1.4. All right. Simple reason is because what? Simple reason is because just now I say already. All right. This portion, you cannot use the square root 1,000. All right. So what do I do? All right. I try to adjust. Let me see. All right. Square root 0.014. Can I present it as square root? All right. Because it's 1.4, I must try to use 1.4. Can I say it's like 1.4 times what? 1.4 times what is 0.014? No, it's not times, it's divide. 1.4 divided by 1. Oh, sorry. 1, 2. 100, is it? Correct or not? Is it true that 1.4 divided by 100? Press calculator, please. 1.4 divided by 100. Is it 0.014? Yes, it's correct. Yes. 1.4 divided by 100 is 0.014. Correct. All right. Do you know that this square root is for everybody? It's actually for square root 1.4. And it's also for square root 100. And guess what, children? 100 is a perfect square. All right, 100 is a perfect square, which means can be square rooted. All right, which means can be square rooted. 1000 is not. So how? So you have to continue. Square root 1.4, answer is given as 1.18. Question C. Divide by square root of 100 is a 10. And eventually what you do? You move the decimal one step to the left. All right, so you move one step to the left. Answer will be 0.118. Answer will be 0.118. That is how you do it without what? Without using your calculator. You must show the working. Can you see that? So the question gives you enough information, but you have to select which one to use. So square 14 doesn't really help. Yes, this one is to bluff you one. You are right. All right, so the question gives you more than enough information. It's try to trick you into a certain direction. So this one doesn't help you. All right, it helps you here, but you don't know what is the square root of 1000. So eventually it doesn't help you. So how? Use this one, no? Can? So you have to be smart. Look at what the information they give you before you act on it. Right? So this type of question must know how to answer. All right, this one is slightly a little bit more advanced already. Can? If you can understand, good for you. All right, if you cannot, try to understand also. Can? All right, so this was your homework from last week. All right, one question only. Can? All right, so moving on into this week's worksheet, right? Let's talk about it. All right. Okay, so this topic about direct and inverse proportion, right? Is it true that some of you haven't do it in school yet? All right, can you please go to the chat and type whether have you done it already? Yes means you have done it, no means no. No means you haven't do it. Can you please assist me here? All right, if no, then I will try to prepare more questions on this. All right, because I'm trying to finish up the book A, then go into book B. So direct and inverse is part of the book A. All right, have you all seen this type of question before, children? Your school taught already or not? This is your Sec 2 topic. Started but haven't finished. Okay, thank you, Chloe. Could you please repeat? I just went to the toilet. All right, Justin, have your school done this type of question already? Direct and inverse proportion. Ice, done already or not? Haven't. Oh no. All right, so Justin, you have done this already. Chloe just started. Lavon, finished already or not? Sherman? Yes, yes means finish already. Sherman means yes also. Okay, very good. All right, okay. So in this case, there's just a couple of students haven't finished. Okay, we keep it as a revision question. All right, but this type of question I told you before, right? Very irritating. You see, when B is halved, but not to fear. Not to fear. I told you this already. Not to fear. All right. First thing first, what you do? Translate the English to mathematics. Look. All right. A is A. When you see the word proportionate, must draw the fish. Right? 2b squared. When you see the word inversely, right? When you see the word inversely, then you activate the what? When you see the word inversely, then you activate the over. All right? The something over k, right? K over something, right? All right, you activate the reciprocal actually. All right? So you activate the 1 over. Remember this? Okay? When you see the word inversely, then you activate the 1 over. Okay? So this one don't have inversely, but so you just read it from left to right. A proportionate to 2b squared. Okay. Hey, but you don't like the fish. Exchange the fish for equal to k. And you declare, sure, k is a constant, where k is a constant. All right, so this k is something which is not part of the question. So you have to declare it. Can? All right, and the rest will remain. A is still down here. 2b squared is down here. All right, so down here is actually a time still. So the question will usually give you a piece of information. And this question did give you the piece of information. They say that A is 160, B is 4. All right, so down here extend and say when A is 160, B is 4, what happened?